Dallas has a new sheriff in town, and his name is Mikko Rantanen, a Stanley Cup champion, elite power forward, and now the centerpiece of the Stars' future. He arrives for his first full season in the Lone Star State. So what are the expectations for the Moose in Dallas?
You're Locked On Stars, your daily podcast on the Dallas Stars. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Howdy, Stars fans. I'm Joey Erickson, former producer of 105 Through the Fan. Please be sure to subscribe. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. And as always, thank you so much for making us a part of your day and making us your first listen. Welcome to a Wednesday edition of Locked On Stars, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Football season is around the corner. Visit the FanDuel app today and start planning your futures bets now. What are the expectations for Mikko Rantanen in his first full season with the Dallas Stars? We're going to break it all down on today's show, as well as do some This Day in Stars history. Do you recall this game from that Bubble Cup run during the pandemic? It was quite the doozy, to say the least. Also, Jake Oettinger and Jason Robertson make the USA orientation camp for the 2026 Olympics in Italy. We'll talk about that a bit later on as well on today's show. But let's dive into what to expect from the Moose here in his first full season. Of course, he was acquired from the Carolina Hurricanes after he was dealt twice during the 2024-25 season. He finished the year in Dallas with 5 goals, 13 assists. He had 18 points in 20 games. It wasn't very sexy. I know there was some Stars fans out there that were not very happy with what we got out of Mikko Rantanen in that final 20 games of the season, and didn't really see the fit, and were hoping they could go back and grab Logan Stankoven. I was a Rantanen stan, of course. I thought he was much better than what his stat line was saying, and it wasn't very great, and he had 18 points in 20 games. So I think that's just the type of player you're going to get in Rantanen. We know the production is elite, and going back over the last 4 or 5 years, it's remarkable what he did in Colorado. Back-to-back 100-point seasons. I think it's safe to say if he played the entire year in Colorado last year, he probably would have eclipsed the century mark. He had 104 points in 23-24, 105 points in 22-23, which included 55 goals. But you go back to that 2020 season, 5 straight years with 30-plus goals. He had 30 in 2020, and that was in a season where they only played 56 games. He only played in 52 of them. He had 30, and he had 66 points in that 52, 56 game schedule coming out of the pandemic, and it was a bit weird, as we all know. But he's had 30 goals, 36 goals, 55, 42, and he had 32 last season between the 3 clubs. He's had over a point per game in every single one of those seasons, 66 points in the 56-game schedule of 2020. Followed that up with 92, 105, 104, and he had 88 points last season. He is elite, especially at 5-on-5 or even strength. You look at his even strength production, that is really, really mind-boggling to me too. Maybe not mind-boggling, but it jumps off the screen. In the last 5 seasons, again, 21, 20, 42. That was a bit of an anomaly, but insane. And 42 of 55 goals came at even strength. That's special. So he's not just a power play merchant, so to speak. And he had 28 even strength goals a couple of years ago, 21 this last season. He's had 4 straight seasons of double-digit power play goals. Going back to 21, 22, 16, 13, 14. He had 11 this last season. I think eclipsing the century mark is certainly on the table, but I wouldn't be shocked if he didn't hit that either in Dallas, just because of potentially the certain philosophy with Glenn Gulletson, the system. I'm curious to see how much he's going to play. maybe I should be a bit more bullish. I would predict he gets somewhere around the 100-point mark. I think he's going to sort of live anywhere from 90 to 105 is sort of where I see his production. I think that's a very fair expectation for Mikko Rantanen. I think it's fair to say he should be somewhere around 30-plus goals. He's been able to do that the last 5 seasons. He's 28 years old, going on 29. In terms of assists, his career high is 62 back in 23-24. We've seen how excellent of a playmaker he is. And I think he's going to rack up quite a few apples as well here in Dallas. He just has production out the rear end. It still sort of shocks me when I go back and look at it, just because we haven't really seen this before, at least in my lifetime. Correct me if I'm wrong. I know we had that wonderful Robo season, but to be fair, that was 1 year in an amazing campaign, and it would be nice for Robo to repeat that. And I'm hoping it comes this season, potentially playing alongside Mikko Rantanen. But this is year after year. We all know about his playoff production. That's well documented. We've talked about that. I think expectations for Rantanen should be an all-star. He should be widely considered a top 5 player in the game, or top 10 to be to give him some breathing room. Top 5 winger in the game. I think it's not totally out of the question. Maybe he's in some Hart Trophy conversations if the Stars are just ripping off the bat. Like, if they get off to a really hot start, he's leading the way. He's leading in scoring. The Stars are first in the Central Division under first-year head coach. Sort of first-year head coach, but the new era of Glenn Gulletson. I think that is a fairly reasonable expectation too, based off what we've seen in years past. He finished 6th in the Hart Trophy conversation, 22-23 during that 55-goal season. I mean, 50-plus goals, 50 assists. That's remarkable. And he finished 6th. I imagine Rantanen was probably in that Hart Trophy conversation. I can't remember off the top of my head the Hart Trophy winner. I can pick that up real quick. It was McDavid. McKinnon was ahead of him in 5th. And Robo finished 4th that year during that 100-point campaign for Robo. So I think it's fair, at least expectation-wise, or at least to look at the potential. He's in the Hart Trophy conversation November-ish, talking about leading the Stars in scoring. Stars get off to a great start with Glenn Gulletson, and he's an all-star, and he's really leading the charge offensively for Dallas. That's what I expect out of Mikko Rantanen. I think that's what Stars fans should expect as well. I think the first 20 games in Dallas, we've talked about how weird of a situation that was with Carolina. And we saw, even with the non-sexy appeal of that 20 games to finish out the regular season, what he could do in the playoffs. And he looked very, very comfortable. They were playing him with Kyle Granlund, of course, and Rope and the all-Finn line. And it just started to go berserk. It started to taper off a bit and fizzled, as really everybody with the Stars did. But Rantanen obviously felt grounded, got his feet wet, and once the playoffs started, maybe that helped him too in a lot of ways. It's not much of thinking about, okay, where's this? How am I supposed to do this with a new coach and all that? Just go out there and play a lot. And do what you do best. And we started to see that more from Mikko. I think we're going to see a team that allows him to play 21 minutes a night. We touched on Pete DeBoer and how it was always less for more. You saw guys that may, in years past, or maybe with other coaches, would play somewhere 22 minutes a night, but in Dallas, they were playing less, and of course, that was that was how the Stars were successful. I can't knock it. They were very successful doing that, but I think you're going to see the Stars rely on him a bit more heavily than even the last, couple seasons that he's had. He played pretty much 22 minutes a night in Colorado is sort of where he lived. I think you're going to see around 21 in Dallas. He played 19 minutes in the 20 games with the Stars in the regular season. He ended up averaging over 20 in the playoffs, which makes sense. Your better players are going to go up. He averaged 24 with Colorado a couple years ago, which is a bit insane as well. But I think you're going to see him 21 minutes a night is sort of where he's going to live. But again, to sort of recap, all-star conversation. Really, he should be an all-star. Hart conversation. Leading the Stars in scoring. And he's sort of the main man for Dallas, sort of driving the Stars this season. I think it's going to be a big year for him. I really do. A full training camp is really going to help too, just to get out some kinks, find out who he's going to play with. Is it going to be Robo and Rope? Is it going to be Rope and Johnston? Is it going to be a list of characters, right? So that's my expectations for the Moose. Would love to hear yours in the comments below. Now, to wrap up that conversation, or I should say to move on from that conversation, this day in Stars history, an electric Game 6 in round 1 against the Calgary Flames. Do you recall this game during the Bubble Cup run? I'll tell you more in just a moment. Today's episode of Locked On Stars is brought to you by Gametime. Have you ever decided at the last minute you want to head to a ball game with your friends or family? Maybe it's game day and you suddenly realize you want to be in the stands. That's exactly where Gametime comes in. It's the easiest way to grab a last-minute tickets without the stress. With the money you save on tickets, you can splurge on food, drinks, merch, or even invite a bigger group to come with you. Gametime makes it possible. Gametime makes buying tickets fast and simple. Prices on the app actually drop the closer you get to first pitch, and they've got incredible last-minute deals, clear seat views, and a lowest price guarantee that takes the worry out of buying. You want to get to a Texas Rangers game soon. It seems like they're not going to make the playoffs. Oh, they're so disappointing. But Globe Life is a lot of fun to be at. Go ahead and go to Gametime. You can see the view from your seat before you buy it. So you don't have to worry about a pole or a railing in front of you, although I don't think you have to worry about that much at Globe Life. But that is a great thing about Gametime. It's the official ticketing partner of the MLB, Locked On MLB. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use the code Locked On NHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKED on NHL for $20 off. Download the Gametime app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. This day in Stars history, a segment I started about a week ago where we just look back at Stars history. We started off with Yuri Lettinen and his Selke trophies. This is an actual this day in Stars history on August 20th of 2020. Of course, we all know the pandemic shortened that season, and then the Stanley Cup playoffs ended up restarting up in August. They played a couple of those exhibition games, and then they went right in to the postseason. And what a run it was. I'll tell you, I remember watching this game specifically. I was in my sister's basement. She went to the University of Minnesota. I was living with her at the time. I was working at a horse track. Shout out Canterbury. Great spot. Canterbury Park in Shakopee, Minnesota, for those of you that know it. But I remember I was in the basement watching this game, and I thought in the first 8 minutes, I thought it was going to be one of those games that we've accustomed to know in Dallas Stars history, like we saw this past spring. The Calgary Flames versus the Dallas Stars, Game 6 of the Western Conference first round. Yes, Game 6. The Calgary Flames go up 3-0 in the first 6.5 minutes of the contest. My goodness, we're going to have to go to a Game 7. The Stars actually trailed in this series at one point, 2-1. They had won 2 straight and then a chance to clinch and move on. But they go down 3-0 in the first 6.5 minutes. The goal scorers for the Flames, Andrew Mangiapane, Johnny Gaudreau, rest in peace, of course, and then Rasmus Anderson. Maybe the Stars will finally add him to their roster this next season. Seems like we talk about him quite a bit. But then the Dallas Stars went to work. 7 unanswered goals from the Dallas Stars. And yeah, guess who had the hat trick, ladies and gentlemen? Denis Gurianov. And he had more than a hat trick. 4 goals from Denis Gurianov as the Stars go on to win it 7-3, built off a 5-goal second period. Gurianov had 3 of the 4 in the second, and the Stars take the series 4-2. The Flames had David Rittich in net to start it. Cam Talbot started the series. He was Swiss cheese. Rittich ended up being Swiss cheese. He stopped 3 of 6 to begin his night. And then Talbot came in. He got punctured multiple times. And the Stars went on to take it 7-3. 4 goals and an assist for Gurianov, 5 points. Miro Heiskanen had a goal and 3 assists. Joe Pavelski had a goal and 2 assists. We'll go over the roster too, because it's intriguing to look back. Jamie Benn, you had the FCC line with Cogliano, you had Como, and you had Foxa. Jason Dickinson, Gurianov, which is no longer with the Stars. Man, we thought he was going to be something. That's so unfortunate. You had Rope Yance, Kiviranta, who had an assist in the game, ended up being a Game 7 hero a bit later on during that year. Of course, you had Perry Radulov and Sagan. Now, on the back end, Taylor Fedun, had no clue or recall him being in that game. I know he started in a couple, but not that one. Miro, of course, you had Klingberg, Lindell, Alexiak, and Sekera as well. Anton Udobin, he stops 38 of 41 on the night. Anton Udobin picks up the win as the Stars ended up getting outshot 41-24 in the game. They were out hit 50-38 as well. Now there were some records. Remember, the Stars just kept breaking records. The Stars, of course, overcame that 3-goal deficit. It was the 6th playoff game in NHL history where both teams held a 3-goal lead at some point. Dallas made NHL playoff history by being the first team to transform a 3-goal deficit into a 4-goal lead. The 7 goals scored by Dallas were the most scored in a playoff game since relocating to Dallas. They have since matched that. A couple of years ago, they beat Minnesota 7-3 in Game 2 of the first round in 2023. So they have since matched that. Denis Gurianov, his 5 points matched a playoff record in Dallas Stars, North Stars history, but it set a Dallas Stars franchise record, 5 points. The 4 goals that also matched a Dallas Stars record. And then it ended up being replicated just a couple of years later by Joe Pavelski in that loss in Game 1. Remember, Pavelski was knocked out of the first round of that Minnesota series, and then he came back. He scored 4 goals in his return against Seattle. So a lot of records were broken, and the Stars end up going on to win that game 7-3. Would love to hear where you were when you were watching that contest on August 20th. Now 5 years ago, but it was one of those starts where you're just like, my goodness, we're going to have to go to a Game 7, 6 minutes in. As we've seen in the past, the Stars are down 3-0. I don't think that type of comeback, I don't think that comeback occurs if it's not in the bubble. That was just a weird time. But man, I get warm and fuzzy feelings when I think about a lot of those games. I really, really do. It was such a spectacular run. And it was one of those runs that wasn't supposed to happen for Dallas. They were a good team. I think they ended up as a wild card. I think they were sort of the 7th seed. I can't remember the exact seeds, but I think they ended up getting in as a wild card position, and of course made an incredible run to the Stanley Cup final. And it started with this Flame series that was something, and somehow ended up outdoing this series against Colorado, of course, where they were at 3-1. That went to a game 7, and then they took down Vegas in 5 games. And I think Pete DeBoer was the coach at the time there. So a weird connections through it all. And just looking at that roster brings a smile to my face, just because Gurianov especially, we thought he was going to be something, and it just never materialized. Remember, he didn't have a goal for an entire year. Just nasty work. But he had himself a game, 5 points and 4 goals in that 7-3 victory. So game 6 to take the series 4 games to 2. I would love to hear where you were on that day in Dallas Stars history in the comments below. Some good stuff there. Always fun to revisit and go down memory lane. All righty. Enough reminiscing, enough nostalgia. Jake Oettinger, Jason Robertson have been invited to orientation camp for Team USA. We'll have some more updates about that, the roster, and some other Stars news in just a moment. Today's episode of Locked On Stars is brought to you by FanDuel. August 26th is officially FanDuel Futures Day, a brand new holiday for football fans who live for bold predictions and preseason hunches. For just 24 hours, FanDuel is giving you deals on NFL season predictions. So whether you're calling your MVP, eyeing a long shot division winner, or ready to crown your Super Bowl champ before week 1 even kicks off, this is your moment. Can't wait for football to return here in just a couple of weeks. The Cowboys taking on Philadelphia right away. You can take a flyer on the MVP race with FanDuel. Of course, you can crown your champion. Who's going to win that division? Maybe parlay it with a dark horse like the Denver Broncos, right? Visit the FanDuel app today. Start planning futures bets now, because Futures Day is one day and one day only. FanDuel, play your game. It was just announced yesterday that Jake Oettinger and Jason Robertson have been invited to the USA Hockey Men's Olympic Orientation Camp, along with a host of other forwards. I'll give you the breakdown of the invitees. You have Matt Boldy, Jake Gensel, Dylan Larkin, Robo's right there. You got Caulfield, Jack Hughes, Austin Matthews, Brian Rust, Logan Cooley, Patrick Kane even, JT Miller, Tage Thompson, Jack Eichel. On the back end, you have McAvoy, you have Hannafin, you have the Hughes brothers, you have Slavin, a lot of the members that we saw during the Four Nations face-off. And, of course, you have Oettinger. The goalies end up being DeCord, Hellebuck, Oettinger, and Swayman. So Jason Robertson and Jake Oettinger have been invited to the U.S. Men's Olympic Orientation Camp. Of course, Jason Robertson was left off Team USA during the Four Nations. He got off to that really slow start after being injured. I would have guessed, and maybe I am completely wrong here, I would have guessed Robo if you started to talk about the roster for Four Nations when it was announced. I would have had to think Robo would have been a part of those plans, but he didn't have a great start to the year. And we really just never heard his name mentioned, or at least rumored with Team USA. It just felt like the steam kind of died there. I think if he has a great start, I feel like it's almost a sure thing he's going to be on the roster. I think Otter, as safe as can be, continues to make a good presence. Outdueled Hellebuck during the Four Nations face-off. This is a bit bigger with the Olympics, of course. Helly was great in the Four Nations, but didn't look very good in the postseason. Maybe that sways some different minds. And Swayman, like if he finds his game, and it was a bit rocky here and there with Boston, but I think he's a real candidate that could push to be a starter at some point. But I would think Otter's safe for sure. Robo, I think, is safe. It may not be for sure, but I would say he's inside the bubble at least to make the team. Just based off what he can do, as long as he shows it right off the hop, he should have no issues making it to Italy for 2026. And it was motivation. We broke down that or discussed that Athletic article with Johnston and some others, they were motivated. Even Matt Duchene was motivated to try to make that roster. And he was a guy that was even rumored could potentially make that Four Nations team because he was just going scorched earth the first half of the season with Dallas. Another team that had invitees to their orientation camp, which I did not get to. I really didn't see it. But when I saw USA had announced theirs, I wanted to go back, and I saw Canada earlier in the month. Wyatt Johnston was actually invited, and so was Thomas Harley. So great to see that Wyatt Johnston was invited. I think it's just great that Harley and Johnston are being invited, whether they make the team or not, because they get to be around the Sidney Crosbys of the world. They get to be around Drew Doughty. They get to be around legends, right? Or guys that are going to be future Hall of Famers like McKinnon to get a close perspective of what it's like to be elite, to be one of the best at their craft. I think that will give them a chance to learn, number one, pick up on some things and see how they go about their business. That in itself, I think, is a big deal. You could say the same about Robo and Otter being at that camp. That's great for all the stars involved. So congrats to Wyatt and Thomas as well. Man, I hope Wyatt makes that team. It'll be a lot of fun to watch him. And he seems to be on the radar, which is a good thing. And will be really, really exciting when 2026 rolls around. I know we talked about it on Monday as well, but there's a lot of intriguing things with the Olympics we'll have to keep a close eye on this year. But congrats to Otter, Robo, Harley, and Johnston being invited to their respective camps for this upcoming season. And as we went through it the other day, Stars could have 8 to 10 guys competing in the Winter Olympics. I don't know if that is great maybe for their overall chances of the Stanley Cup. We saw with Four Nations and some injuries that occurred. I know there were some fans out there that didn't love it, which trust me, if Mikko Rantanen or whatnot, knock on wood, gets hurt during the Olympics, it's going to sting. Certainly is. But I also believe it's better for the game that they're competing in this. And it's better for the overall, just the overall sport. It's better for the sport that we get the NHL guys, the professionals competing in the Olympics. It's going to be a lot of fun, and I can't wait to take it all in come February. But yeah, just wanted to give you some updates there, and I think that's it. Do a little bit of housekeeping. I think that's all I got for you today on this Wednesday edition of Locked On Stars. Hope you're all having a fantastic week, and please be sure to subscribe, hit the notification bell. Never miss an episode of Locked On Stars, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every single day. You can follow me, Joy the Jet 19 on Twitter. You can follow us at Locked On Stars on Twitter as well. I put out all the episodes, each and every episode, and retweeting and posting stuff as we go throughout this offseason. Hockey is right around the corner, Stars fans, so just buckle up. We're almost there. Not too much longer, but that's going to do it. Thank you as always for love and support on each and every episode, and we'll see you on a Friday of Locked On Stars. So long, Stars fans.